Welcome to the Live Sports of New Mexico show. My name is Chris and I have my co-host here, Brian, and this show is all about talking about sports and life and how those two really interact. So today, we're actually going to talk about certain things, like what is our identity? How do we find it? Why shouldn't we find it in certain other areas? And also, to follow up with that, is finding our purpose. You know, what do we really strive to be? How do we find it? Where do we find it? Stuff like that. But without further ado, I want to introduce a really good friend of ours. He attends Legacy Church. He's been there for a very long time. My friend here, Ambrose, he's going to
nice to meet you.
Southeastern University in a few days.
Yeah, I leave Saturday afternoon. Yeah, I've actually known Chris and Brian for a long time. Like Chris said, I've been attending Legacy Church with them for a long time. I've grown up there. Yeah, I mean, it's been an experience that's home. I think where my story starts is you know, growing up, there were things that were said against me a lot of times by doctors, by teachers. I was born 3 months early, premature. And Brian, you know this. It's been a long time since you know him, but Chris, yeah, I was born 3 months premature, and I weighed 2 pounds 9 ounces. And every doctor that my mom saw and that my family consulted with said that I wouldn't live, and if I did, I would be a vegetable. You know, and I was stillborn, and so when that started, the doctors had already pronounced me dead, but one nurse just kept trying and eventually she revived me, and you know, I had to take therapy, and I've had surgeries, and just, you know, that's a lot of it in a nutshell, but there's a lot of stuff that has happened, and you know, I'm just thankful that I'm here and experiencing life, and now I'm off to college, and you know, 3 days, 4 days, and it's been a wild ride for sure.
So we're thankful that you're here too, man. I know you got a great story, and I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more later on in the show, but before we jump into, what are some of the things maybe you're most looking forward to as you go off to college? I think
the experience. I mean, there's the coolest thing is I'm one of the first people in my family to go to college. One of the first people in my family to ever even graduate high school. You know, so on top of that, to be able to have an opportunity to go to college and pursue photography and media design and theoretical studies, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how I grow. Discovering hidden talents that I may have, hidden abilities, you know, you never know. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is just meeting the people and experiencing a different culture. And I like to call every place that I travel to a new adventure. So, you know, we'll see what happens.
And what are you most nervous about?
I was actually, that's funny because I was thinking about that today. I think I'm most nervous about, I guess, having to learn to embrace the uncertainty. And there's one thing that I always say is embrace the wild of every situation. And so for me, I think that's the biggest thing. You know, with each new thing that you do in your life, there's always a certain amount of uncertainty that you don't have. And that's where the adventure begins, where certainty ends and you just go with it.
Now, Chris, how long ago did you leave for college, or how long ago were you in his shoes when you're getting ready to go off to college?
Yeah, it was 2010, and I remember.
2010?
Yeah.
So, man, you're old.
I'm getting there.
You're old, man.
In my fourth year teaching. I just got back into my classroom as a teacher. I'm like, yes, my fourth year teaching.
I used to be a student.
I know. So, but yeah, that transition, it is tough. But you know, I think it's just one of those things where it has to be done. I mean, maybe if you know God has you going that direction, because I know if God had me still in California, I don't know what I would have done. But I think I really found something true here, and maybe you'll find something there. But yeah, you know, Ambrose is not just a normal guest for us. You know, Ambrose is really smart. He's gone through a lot. So we really want to pick his brain on certain things. So like our topic today is what is your identity? And for me personally, I think a lot of us really have to search for the joy in doing things for other people. And then we have to kind of find a way how we can do that. And for a lot of people, you know, Jackie Robinson, I think he said it best. He said that life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. So just kind of give us your thoughts, you know, when you've had to really kind of search your identity as you've gone through certain things and you've been labeled certain things, what have you really kind of found with yourself?
I think so. A lot of times, young people, young adults our age, you know, 20 to 30, 35, we're still so young, and I think all throughout life you don't ever stop finding your identity. Right. It's something that you will not know until the day that you die, and even then, you know, you don't know. And that's what I believe. Just because I've learned that every time that I think I know who I am and I'm set in that, and I'm pretty sure of that, there's something that I find within myself, whether that be through prayer, through worship, through just conversations with good friends, or for me, one of the biggest things is food. I love to get around the table and eat and talk and discuss life and see where people are. And each conversation that you ever will have will teach you something about yourself. And I think for me, my identity is, as I'm still learning and growing and maturing in that, you learn to embrace yourself in all your imperfection. You find yourself in all your imperfection, and you say, you know what, this is me. And I think that's where you find yourself. And so what your purpose is, or what your identity is, you could say, is to fall more in love with who you are, the way that God created you, because He doesn't make mistakes. He knows everything about you. So there's always a joy in finding that. Whether, you know, a lot of people put their identity in their work, or their family, or what they do, or what they want to be. But I think what can help a lot of people is finding your identity right where you are. And not having to be so focused on, oh, this is what I want to do, or this is who I'm going to be. Who are you right now? And how can you better yourself today? And how can that push you forward?
And I think that's amazing, because here you are, you're not supposed to live, you're stillborn, yet God still has this amazing identity for you, this purpose for you, and here you are 20 years later doing amazing things, about to go off to college, and man, we couldn't be more proud of you. So we look forward to diving in a little bit deeper about who Ambrose is and what he's all about, and we're excited to help you find your purpose and your identity. So stick around, we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
What do these interns even do on their break, man?
I don't even know. It's probably way too crazy.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Hoops New Mexico Basketball Courts is coming to Albuquerque soon. 10 full basketball courts and a whole lot more. For more information, contact Dan Serrano at hoopsnm@aybl.com.
Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today. Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either He's Lord of all, or He is not Lord at all. and you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Hey, welcome back to Life Sports of New Mexico. One thing we like to say is this: life is a sport that God wants you to win. And today we're talking about identity, purpose. We got our special guest Ambrose with us, joining the discussion, the conversation. And so we're really excited about it. And you know, we watch a lot of TV shows, and you see different titles. You see 16 and Pregnant. You see Naked and Afraid. And you see all these things that are trying to give us our own identity. They're trying to tell us who we are. But the only person that can tell us who we are, who you are, is God himself. And he says this, and in fact, it's our ministry, Chris, that we're a part of, that we are young and we're unashamed. That even though we're young, he can use us to make a difference. That he has a plan for us right here, right now. Not when we're older, not later, not when we want to settle down, but right now. God has a plan and purpose and identity for you. And so, Ambrose, to kind of keep the conversation going, what did you do? What are some things you did to find your purpose? Or what are you doing now in this process of discovering who God made you to be?
Well, I think it started young. It started really young. I knew I was called just ministry. I knew I was called to ministry since I was about 2 years old, 2 or 3 around there, and I knew that I had a natural desire to just help people, to push people be, who they wanted to be and who they could be, and so throughout my life, what I've done is I've learned to come behind people's dreams and their visions and help them to make those come to life. And so I think some of the biggest things that I've done recently, in recent years, is I just finished 2 years in LA, going and attending the Dream Center Leadership School, and that the Dream Center, based in Los Angeles, is a 24-hour ministry. It's a 24-hour church where they help over, just thousands and thousands of people each month. Homelessness, addiction, just veterans with PTSD, sex traffic victims, just so many things. And so I served there for 2 years, and I also, within our church, I help serve in the prayer ministry, and also just help run a small group called Timothy Project. And through that, it's a group of young men, and we teach them what it is to be a man of God, or after his own heart. And so by helping people, I think that's when you find your purpose. When you get beside or outside of yourself, and you kind of put the needs of others wholeheartedly before yourself, and that's when you find your purpose. I mean, our purpose, our mission, is to get people to understand who God is to them and how He sees them. And so I think that's our mission, but our purpose is then to teach them and to guide them and to help them and come beside people and say, you know what, hey, you're better than this. Your circumstance, your beginning, whatever you're facing right now or whatever you are a part of right now isn't the end for you. And so I think that's just when you find your purpose, is truly when you get beside yourself and put others first.
Yeah. And Chris, what would you say to someone who's out there struggling with who they are?
Well, I think a big thing about it is knowing your why. When I'm going to have my students next week, they're starting school, and that's a really big question I ask them, like on the first day of school or first project they have, is like, all right, you're going to discover why you do what you do, or why you go through certain things or go through certain obstacles. So I think it's really important that, even for me personally, I've always wanted to be a coach, and, looking for colleges to go to, there were some, Division II schools I could have went to at California, and but I really wanted Division I because I knew that's where, even if I didn't play as much, I knew I could, really learn a lot. So I did that, but it was still hard not to play as much and go through, some of the rigorous demands I had to. But I always kept focused on my why. And I think a lot of us, when we only kind of question our purpose, I think, is when it's tough. We never question it when, like, hey, things are going good, and we're like, hey, you know what? Actually, I don't know if I'm called to do this. No, it's when those times are tough, and you're like, man, should I really try to be a doctor? Should I really try to be a lawyer? Should I really work in ministry? Am I that smart or that good? So I really think it's that, when we lose sight of what our why is, that's when we get in trouble.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. And how would you say one can discover their why?
So I really think a lot of people kind of search for it in different ways. They could look at it in different people, like you said, different shows, and you watch, certain things on social media and all these things. So you're trying to find your purpose with like certain causes that maybe aren't the right causes to be in. So I really think
that's good, and you bring up social media as well. A big problem today is comparison. We're not sure who we are because we're too busy trying to be like somebody else. We're too busy trying to look like someone else or act like someone else or post like someone else that we get confused. We get identity confusion. We don't know who we are. We don't know who God made us to be. You see today, crazy, you see gender confusion. I mean, it's just, it's wild. People are so confused because they don't know what God's word says and who God created them to be. He's the creator. Why wouldn't we look to the one who created us to ask why he created us? Why are we looking to something that was created to tell us why we were created? Let's look at the one who created everything.
Right, and you looked at, that's how I think you look to coaches and teachers and pastors. You ask those people, okay, what do I do in this situation? But then when it comes to creation too, like what Brian's saying is, I think it's really, okay, we got to go to God about this. Why are we going to another source that doesn't believe, that doesn't really believe in it? And also, that's the thing. I've done it too. I've compared myself to other people's walks in life, and I'm like, gosh, I should be at 26 years old. I should have this accomplished, that accomplished. But again, it's like, wait, that's not my path. God has me on on a different route, and I think it's really about like I said, when we go through failures, we can't oh wait, I shouldn't do this then. We just got to kind of get through that.
I think it's good that it's funny how you bring up how people get so lost in comparison, because I've been home now for a year and a half, give or take, and through that, through my time being home, there has been a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of questions as to why I'm here. What am I doing? What am I here for? I was doing this and I was doing that, but why was I needed to be here? Why was I called and sent back home? So to me, it felt a very backward motion. And for me, just in my nature, I'm like, once I see something, once I hear something, once I know something, for me personally, for my life, I'm like, okay, I'm not looking anywhere else but there. But I think a lot of times what can bring confusion too is the fact that we don't stop to look around. We don't stop to really see that God is all around us. He's not just in where we're going or where we're supposed to be or where we think we should be, but he's in everything around us, through us, about us. And I've always told people that I teach or that I mentor or anybody, you have purpose because you were made on purpose with intentionality. So I think that's a huge thing. And once people get that, they're set.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of purpose, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. You're a bit of a spoken word artist.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've done some in a few.
To wrap up this part of the show, will you drop a few bars for us? I know it's kind of a gift. It's a purpose. It's identity. You got a gift. So can you drop a few bars for us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I recently wrote one at least 2 years ago. It's called The Uprising. And this part, it goes, there's a lot of people around you. There's people everywhere, and people hunger for truth. They hunger for reality. They hunger for, we all hunger for understanding of who we are. And Why do we question ourselves when God says, before you doubt me, doubt your doubts? So I'm sitting here talking to God, and I'm asking you, God, questions, and I need you to understand that I'm not questioning you, I just have questions. So don't turn away from me. But understand that in my questioning, I'm looking for answers, and every single time I look for answers, it seems like I have more questions and never enough answers. Sieges on the living rooms of my mind, and I just need you to hear, so do you know me? Do you see me?
That's awesome. Awesome. Put him on the spot, and he came through. He came through. Ambrose, man, great job. And hey, stick around. We'll be right back, and Chris and Ambrose are going to talk a little bit more into his story and then a message of hope through all of this. Maybe you are confused or struggling, but there's hope. There's good things. There's light on the horizon, and so they're going to talk about that. So see you in a bit.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real. All day with you two, jeez. Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Welcome back to the Live Sports of New Mexico show, where we're talking about our identity, our purpose, and how we could find it. I have my very good friend Ambrose here, who, man, he speaks the real talk. I really learned a lot from him, and I hope you guys are too. You guys are, very blessed to have him on, and so we're really going to get into, our identity and really in a deep spiritual realm where we talk about really our identity is in Christ. I remember, I don't know if you saw in the Olympics, there were these two divers. And, they talked about how, if we won a gold medal, great, but our identity is not in the medal, it's in Christ. And so I think that's really huge because we look at Jesus and we talk about our identity, and we talked about, it's about giving to others. That's what Jesus did. He really gave his life for us, and he's made the most impact ever, in the history of mankind. And so that's why I think we need to be more like Jesus is because our legacy really just needs to live on. What's going to be timeless in our life? What is something that we really could just, when we're gone, what can be left here to our family, to our friends, or to whoever?
Yeah, I think it's funny because somebody told me a few months ago that the most important thing that people say, it's not at the beginning of their life or during their life, it's at the end, because that's the last thing you'll ever hear from them.
Right.
And for me, that's something that I think about a lot. I think of, what am I here to leave? You know, not for, you know, as I was younger, it was always about, okay, how can people remember me? How can they see me? How can they know me? But as I've gotten older, you come to understand as you mature and you grow and you learn that, like we said earlier, it's about putting other people's needs before yourself. I think by finding your identity, by finding your purpose, everything that we've talked about today, it's all about what are you leaving and what for? What's the purpose? How is it going to last and why should it last? Because at the end of your life, do you want to look back and think, okay, there's something in my hand that I should have given? And there's something that I was talking to a friend about yesterday, actually. He's a really good friend of mine. And he said, you know, why am I even here? Like, what's the point of being here if everything around me is just beating me? And I told him, at the end of your life, your desire should be that you want nothing left in your hands. Because you gave everything that you were away. You gave pieces of yourself, pieces of your heart, pieces of your mind to everybody else that was around you. And through that, through what you've taught, through what you've left, through how you've loved people, through how you spoke to them, how you walked with them, they learn something and they keep that with you, so your legacy leaves on. It stays here. It's cemented within each footprint that you've encountered people with. You know, I truly believe that our mission, our job, is to leave something behind with people that can be passed on to the next generation.
That's it.
So, I mean, I think about this constantly. I don't know about you, but I do.
Yeah, it's good stuff, because I mean, I even thinking about it too, because a lot of us can get caught up in the balance of, maybe I'm being too unselfish, and then there's also that being too selfish as well. We have to find that balance. But what I found out is just that there's so much more joy in doing things for others. And I think that's what, you know, people get caught up in. If they want to be like, all right, I got to look out for me. I got to do, you know, I just got to do me. I got to make sure I'm taken care of. But then after a while, it's like, it's empty after a while, because you're like, wait a minute, I've given nothing because I still have a lot. And so I really think that's something we just really need to offer is something timeless. And then also, you know, it talks about in Romans 8:28, and I think this is so perfect for us, is that, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God, but this is a very important part, and are called according to His purpose for us.
And it's funny that you bring that specific verse up, because for the past year and a half, you know, in this waiting season, in this desert season, where God has completely, you know, stripped my senses, because usually the way He operates with me, he's a very individualistic God. He speaks directly the way you speak. He knows you, so He knows how you tick. He knows how you think. He knows how you process. For me, He knows that I'm somewhat of a dreamer. I love to envision things and then make them happen. And so for me, I hear Him, I see Him, I know Him everywhere around me. And so when He took that away, sometimes He'll remove Himself out of the room that you're in, so that you become so hungry. And in those tests of faith, in that waiting season, I think there's a lot of people here that are in waiting seasons. Whoever you are listening to this, wherever you may be, understand that your waiting season is not your last chapter. I think a lot of people get so caught up in how they're waiting, or why isn't this happening yet, or I'm 30 and I should already be here, or I'm 23 and I should already have this and that. But I think what I've learned in the last year and a half is that God is a wholehearted Father. He's a wholehearted lover. He's a wholehearted friend. There is nothing that He sees about you that He doesn't already know about. Nothing surprises Him to the point where He falls off His throne. He's like, I tell people all the time, He's not looking at you when you do something good or bad, and He's like, oh, myself. You know, how we say, oh my God. It's like He's not looking at Himself and like face palming, being like, oh myself. He's not surprised about anything. So to anybody out there feeling shameful or alone or confused, why do we allow our circumstance and our feeling and our emotion to get so ingrained within our thinking that we forget where we came from in the first place? I think in this last year, I've had to look a lot from where I came. I've had to look back and say, you know what, God did it then, he'll do it now. Numbers 23:19 says that God is not a man that he should lie. He is not a mere human being that he changes his mind. Once he says something, once he promises you something, once he gives you something, even though you don't have it now, or you don't see it now, it doesn't mean that his word is any less true.
Right. Yeah, so that's good stuff. You know, Ambrose, you know, I hope we can, you know, get you back on when you come back home and talk some more stuff about it. So thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. I'm glad, you know, I hope you're blessed by his word. He really thinks in different ways, and, you know, really, I hope he challenges you and hope you apply what he's taught you today. So thank you for stopping in on our Identity/Purpose show, and then we'll see you guys next week.